Barrett's Breakdown here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Eagles pre- and post-game live on Comcast Sportsnet. Breakfast on Broad on the Comcast Network. Barrett Brooks joins us. And Barrett, a complete 180 from the week before. Last week, horrible offensive line play, defense getting chopped, just gouged by the running game. Yesterday, defense all over the place, offensive line played well. What gives, man?
Just fundamentals, man. People played fundamentally sound this game as opposed to what they did the last 2 weeks. You know, if you look at guys setting the edge, Smith, he played a great game. Marcus Smith actually started up with setting the edge on the run play, ended up hitting a tackle, pushing him upfield, and making a play on the running back, and not allowing him to get outside him where there's nobody at. He forced him back inside to where the teeth of the defense is. And when you do things that are fundamentally sound, it makes it a lot easier to play fast because now you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're executing everything within the framework of what the defense is trying to do. So when you do that, you're allowed then to go and play reckless and play abandoned because you're doing your technique.
Hey, Barrett, let's look it down, thing by thing here. I want to start with the offensive line because obviously that's an area where you played and are pretty passionate about when you watch the big uglies up there. And you got Vaitai last week. We ripped him a lot. Game number 2, did he seem like a much more comfortable, settled-in player?
Yeah, I mean, and the coaches did it just right. They let him go out there and set the run. When you out there and set the run, you're going against a guy that's small. First of all, those, Griffin and Robertson are small guys. And when you're small like that, you're a lot faster. You can get up the field better on pass rush because you're a better athlete. Well, it also works against you when you're smaller and can't hanker down like that. So when you got a guy like Vaitai weighing about 300 pounds going against a guy he outweighs about 40 pounds, the laws of physics just not in his hand. Now the bigger guy is going to push him a little bit, and he's starting to wear on these smaller defensive ends, and then that's the biggest thing. He was able to get on them and impose his will first and show, I'm a lot better than you guys saw last week simply because he was more aggressive, and he got into the flow of the game because they started running the ball first as opposed to getting him out there one-on-one against the fast guy. How about you let him put his hands on him a little bit, choke him a little bit, and then he'll say, all right, then now I'm in for a war. Now I'm into the game because now I know that I can handle these defensive ends because I'm bigger, I'm stronger, and I can be more imposing. So it really set the tempo for him to go out and get some positive influence first couple of plays because they ran the ball.
Yeah, and one thing for sure, last week they ran the ball 17 times to the left, none to Vaitai. At least they got him a little bit more involved because I would ask you would be able to answer this more than anybody. You guys like run blocking way more than you like pass blocking.
Well, his specialty was pass blocking while he was at TCU. But why get out there and pass block when you can run the ball and be physical with a guy? And plus, it's like your asset is you're big, you're strong, and your strength, you're powerful. So let him use all those attributes that he has on the run as opposed to use his deficiencies when he's on the pass, when he's going backwards to a better athlete that can run around and jump around. And plus, there's nothing more demoralizing to a defense than when you can run the ball consistently and put guys and drive guys, and it really takes its toll on the defense when you can do that.
Hey, after the game, Malcolm Jenkins said, we think we're the number one defense in this league. When you see them play a game like that, is it because Minnesota is not a very good offense, or are the Philadelphia Eagles a team that should be in the conversation for one of the top defenses in the league?
Well, they legitimately should be in the conversation. I mean, they can be very, very good, very good. Just given an opportunity to really use it and put them in a better position to really, use their athletic talent, use their ability as playmakers. I mean, you have one of the top three techniques in the league with Fletcher Cox, and then, on the back end, you got probably the best safety tandem in the league, second only to what they have up in Seattle. So, why wouldn't you say that you're the best when, you have performers out there that can play the best? I'll tell you what, Brandon Graham is playing at a Pro Bowl level for 4 out of the 5 games he's been out there playing. He's playing with a high motor, playing with a lot of intensity, and they're hard to block him. Offensive coordinators are now game planning him and Cox as a tandem as opposed to just game planning Fletcher Cox. they have to account for where Brandon Graham is. So he's bringing that much pressure against offensive tackles and tight ends. So he's becoming that asset that Cox needed to, so they can't focus on double teaming him all the time. Now they have to be aware where Brandon Graham is.
Yeah, and Curry and Barwin, I think you're going to see them guys probably get their snaps kind of mixed a little bit more now, which could help both of those guys out.
I'll tell you what, Marcus Smith has to be added into that conversation also, because he went out there, set the tempo, played hard, played well, played fast, played very, very intensely, and he was very aggressive, especially on the run. He probably plays the run better than all three of those guys, which leads me to believe that he's going to get a lot more burn come up here pretty soon. Stephen
Means got his hand on the ball too, so give all of the defensive linemen. They all kind of had a little part in that game. Bo Allen with the strip and then fell on top of that ball yesterday. Great effort by them. Lowest blitz percentage in the league coming into this game was the narrative. They came after Bradford. Was that a 1 week kind of aberration by Jim Schwartz's defense there, or do you think we'll see more of that aggressive play calling from Schwartz moving forward?
I think they wanted to give him a bone since they understood that Sam Bradford, they knew his deficiencies. They understood who he is as a player. So, of course, they're going to blitz a little more simply because they know what gets him rattled. Another thing is, when even before the game you started, even before they got to Sunday, Coach gave them a game plan that was more conducive to putting pressure on the guys. And they took it upon themselves to be like, all right, yeah, Coach is going to be more aggressive. He's going to cut us loose. Let us go out there and play. And I think that had a lot to do with their attitude and their demeanor going out in this game this Sunday. I mean, they really wanted to go out there and pose the wheel, get that bad taste out of their mouth from the previous two games, and let people know, yeah, we're still a dominate defense. When we do things fine and we do things with our assignment correct, they're just as good as any defensive lead. It's not, the best.
Barrett Brooks is with us, Eagles pre- and post-game live on Comcast Sportsnet. Also, Breakfast on Broad, weekday morning 7 to 9 on the Comcast Network. And, Barrett, it was a sloppy game to start that thing. Interceptions, fumbles, interceptions right back, fumbles right back. And then they get that kickoff return by Huff. And, when you're in a game where your offense is struggling like that and you can get that big kickoff return, and they've done it 2 weeks in a row, how big of a factor, is that? And how mentally draining is that for the other team because I really thought, Barrett, that they get the interception and somehow that guy didn't get in the end zone. I don't know how he didn't make it, but I think that turns out to be really a difference maker because I think a pick six for Minnesota to start that game changes a lot of things. Instead, they get an interception in the end zone and then a kickoff return for a touchdown really almost demoralizes you from that point on the way their offense was going.
Well, look at it. We still have a rookie quarterback. Even though he's been playing well, he finally showed that he's a rookie in this game, and it kind of stood out a little bit. So everybody around him understands that they have to play their game. They have to play a game in which they can kind of mask him as a young quarterback, number one. And number two, mask the receivers that aren't playing well. So what do? You go to what your strength is. Strength is on defense. And I tell you what might be the all-time strength on this team is the special teams. Go to what helps the most. I tell you what, Fifth is playing his way into a head coaching career somewhere. I kind of see him like Harbaugh. He has been dominant the last 2.5 years as a special teams coach simply because his special teams have been in the top tier the last 3 to 4 years. 2 to 3 years thus far. So he's put some great stuff together. He takes guys that are starters on the offense and defense and really mold them guys together to be really, really good special teams core. That's 2 kickoffs in a row this last game. He had courage enough to cut Parkey and stay with Sturgis, who was a little, shaky when he first got here. And he's making Sturgis a Pro Bowl quality place kicker. So, let's take our hats off to Phil being a good special teams coach.
Barrett, one thing I mentioned on Friday, when I look at Andy Reid's offense and I look at the parallels, this team, Andy's team, didn't have great wideouts. They were always kind of average, mediocre guys. But they had Westbrook. This team don't have Westbrook. If you're going to have mediocre wideouts, you better have a Westbrook or somebody that can be a difference maker. And I think he's got to figure out what he wants to do in that run game and which running back he wants to kind of tap on the shoulder. What do you think Peterson needs to do at the running back spot?
It's got to be running back by committee. I mean, at this point, you can't go with Matthews, number one, being healthy all the time. And number two, he's had a problem the last couple of games letting the ball go. You can't do that. You're the veteran quarterback. The veteran running back. And, coach has really tied his wagon to him. He said that's the guy. Okay, but he's the guy. He's got to do more to show that he can be the guy that's going to hold on to the ball. Too many times, twice. I'm saying too many times, and it is too many times. Once is too many times, but twice now he's let the ball go at the end of the game. 4-point situations, and we call them 4-point situations where we run the ball and just trying to run the clock out. 4-down situations. We don't want them to have the ball anymore, so you got to give it to a running back. It's going to be consistently going downhill, getting positive yardage. Number one. Number two, can hold on to the ball. So you need a guy like that, and he is definitely dropping the ball. As far as, his ability to run this 4-minute offense.
Hey, Barrett, can you kind of, Minnesota 5-0, been playing great defense, just didn't have it yesterday. I know you've been on good teams and you've been on some bad teams, but when you've been on good teams and you just don't have it that week, what is some of your feelings as a former player when you look at what happened to Minnesota yesterday?
Well, I went through the week saying, you know what, they're a very beautiful team. I said their offense wasn't good at all, even though Sammy Sleeves has played well. He's maintained games. And I said if they were able to slow down the defense and get behind the defense, whether it's running the ball or running screen plays, they ran a lot more screen plays, speed screens, bubble screens, I thought that they could beat this team because I didn't think that the defense was going to be Eagles' defense was going to be bad two games in a row. That was definitely out. I thought they could play a lot better if they became more consistent in their fundamentals. So I thought that was the biggest thing. It was going to be almost they were going to cancel each other out. 'Cause two great defenses, playing against mediocre offenses, and it just happened. And I kind of felt the same way that when you have a special teams like that who can go out there and make a play and a defense that can make a play, I thought our defense was better, and I thought that our special teams was better, which gave us an upper hand. And I really thought that, Carson is good enough to put guys in position and almost like a gunslinger that he could make a couple more plays than Sammy Sleeve. I thought he could run around a little better than Sammy could also, simply because we knew where Sam's going to be. He's going to be back there, and they were going to be able to hit him. And as you can see, they hit him 14 to 18 times
all day. It sacked him 6 times.
So then, if you do that, you sack him 6 times. I knew that we had a little better advantage as far as a better athlete at the quarterback position, that he can get himself out of a little trouble and make a couple plays down the field, which gives us the ability, to win this game. So I picked them to win 26-21. But ended up being 24-10. So either way it goes, we get a victory. I kind of thought we were. I had that funny feeling we were.
Yeah, I had Eagles 23-20. I thought it would be a sloppy, ugly game, but I was kind of in your corner what's that?
It still was.
No, absolutely, but not as sloppy as we actually saw it. But that worked out to the Eagles' advantage. And the reason I liked the Eagles was and this goes to the state of the league, Barrett. Minnesota's offensive line, I just thought the Eagles, this was a perfect week for their defensive front to get back on track. Their offensive line is hideous.
Worst. They're the worst in the NFL. They're out there like their 4th or 5th tackle, starting at this point. The 4th or 5th combination of just tackle. They're really hurting there, and they had no sense of a running game. But at least the Eagles also had a running game. They had no running game whatsoever. So, I just thought that we just had enough firepower to win this game, and it turned out to be the case.
All right, what do they need more of now? Because obviously they won an ugly game. They didn't do it with great offense. It wasn't like they had a great drive, a defining drive or anything. So what do they need to do on offense to become more consistent? Because that offense that we saw Sunday for Philadelphia, that's not getting it done next week.
Oh, absolutely not. Guys got to step up, man. Like, we're aware, not Carmen Sandiego, but we're aware is Zach Ertz. He's got to have the ability to stop, just stop disappearing like he's Houdini. Also, Matthews didn't show up this game. He didn't do it. He didn't do anything. I mean, what do you do at this point with guys that don't show up? I mean, that's the problem. In order for this offense to run correctly, the big-name guys that, we consider big names as far as Jordan Matthews have to show up and Zach Ertz. Those were supposed to be our money guys to really help this team, take them as far as we were going to go, if we were going to be able to go to the playoffs. We should be reading, Jordan Matthews in the slot for at least 80 to 90 yards a game. Zach Ertz, at least 60 to 70 yards a game. Both of these guys have been no-shows, so I believe as soon as they start showing up, this offense could run smoothly, but they haven't been.
I feel like the Ertz thing we've been saying for 3 years now. Is it time to just come together and say he's a good player, just not a difference-making player?
I think we're going to have to say that. I think, it seems that, Selleck might have been the best option for us at this point. He tends to be a better go-to guy than Ertz at this point. But I will say this, Ertz is still a difference maker because he still draws a lot of attention by linebackers and safeties. They refuse to get beat by him. And that might just be a compliment to how good he is. Teams are just not going to let Zach Ertz beat him. So they try to double-team him and bracket him to make sure that he doesn't and to make sure that Matthews doesn't. So it just might be, these defenses understanding that, all right, where these two go, this team goes, so we're going to stop these two and let somebody else beat us.
We ask our listeners on Twitter, Barrett, which Eagles win are they more impressed by, beating the Steelers or beating the Vikings? What say you?
I would have to say the Steelers. The Steelers is a more complete team. They have better weapons, a more proven quarterback. They have a more reliable defense. I think we just caught them at a bad time, a bad situation. So the Steelers are definitely a better win, the bigger win, but it still doesn't change the fact that we beat the only team that was undefeated in the NFL. And we beat them pretty good. And, they made, the Super Bowl, the second team in the Super Bowl, we made them look pretty bad. So, I mean, I must say that the Steelers had to be the biggest game that they won this year.
All right, on to Dallas here. Barrett, you played in Philadelphia from 95 through 2000 through 98 with the Eagles. Give us a little bit of a little extra goes into this week for Philadelphia when they play Dallas.
Yeah. No question. There's a little extra as far as everything. I mean, you go out there, you do a little extra running. You do a little extra field time out there, running drill. You do a little extra in the meeting rooms, film rooms. You just do a little extra simply because this is the game of games. I can remember coming here, and I remember a few people said, not just one or two, but a few more people said, look, you guys could go 2-14 just as long as you guys beat Dallas both of those times. So this is like the hatred that Philadelphia fans, are more involved with. This is the game of games. So going down there, they seem to play a little better down there, and I'm anxious to see, these two rookie quarterbacks battling against each other. They're coming off a bye. You know what happened? We came off a bye. We didn't play well at all. So let's hope the cards fall into how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing two movable objects in the Dallas offensive line against the Eagles starting defense. And at this point, it's only 5 offensive linemen, and there's really 6 to 7 good players on the defense that can make a good game. So I'm teaming the lean towards the Eagles defense really, holding this offensive line and Zeke at bay. I'm really seeing it, man, because there's only 5 of those guys, 6 including Zeke. And, we have some pretty good guys up front. So we can get Billy Logan back and get guys healthy. I really think we have a legitimate shot of beating up on their offense, holding them null and void, and they don't have a good defense. And I think this offense can really get a jump start and get going. So, with the addition of Des Bryant coming back and him wanting the ball, there's not enough balls out there when he's there and Zeke's there. Let's hope a little conflict comes on over there. So I'm anxious to see this game, Sunday night game. This is going to be one of the great matchups that's going to go for a long time with these two rookie quarterbacks.
Yep, 95, Barrett, your rookie year, 1-1 against the Cowboys. You beat them 20-17 at Veterans Stadium. Don't know if you remember that game, but that was one of the close games. They were a 9-point favorite in that game, and you guys end up beating them. Your kicker, Gary Anderson, booted a bunch of field goals in that game. So some of the good matchups between Dallas and Philadelphia. You've been a part of a bunch of them as well. And, hey, it's a little different when these two teams go at it. You got, let's see, 95, you guys split. And the next year you beat them twice. And then they lost to them in the playoffs. No, you beat them twice. And then in the next year after that, you guys split again, and then you beat them twice. So you had a pretty good run against the Cowboys in your tenure.
Oh, and those were real Cowboys then. That's when they had Larry Allen, those guys on the offensive line. A great offensive line, so I could see, and a great offensive period with the big three. So I'm not trying to hear that offensive line being better than the Eagles. I've been part of teams that beaten those guys up front and beaten them handily. Even though they had Michael Irvin, they had Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Margaret Tournay, Eric Williams, Nate Newton. They had a lot of great players during that time, Larry Allen, and we still wouldn't beat up on them in both places. So, say what you want to say about their offensive line being so great. I'm not trying to hear it. We had a great defense. Emmitt Smith was our defensive coordinator. We beat up on them guys, too.
Emmett Thomas.
I'm saying, yeah, E.T., Emmett Thomas.
You said Emmitt Smith. You said Emmitt Smith.
I said, my fault. Yeah, well, Emmett Thomas. They didn't score to Emmett Thomas. So I'm saying that he's a victory.
Hey, guess what? This is there's a lot of early division games. The Eagles and Doug said this today. I'd rather be on the road early. They had to play Washington on the road, Dallas on the road this week, and the Giants on the road next week, and Minnesota, Dallas, and New York next week. All of them coming off byes.
Hey, they're undefeated at home, and teams this year have been coming off the bye sucking. We did it too, so let's hope the trend stays. And we win a couple of these games away, coming back home. We're looking pretty good on at home. We're undefeated at home, so I'm seeing some, the cards falling in the right place at this point. Let's go out there and just show these people. The Eagles are a lot better than people think. And I think the league is taking notice that the NFC East is a lot better than they thought also.
No doubt. No, and I think that was to be expected because they were not very good last year. But very competitive division right now. I think Dallas leading the pack is a little bit a step above. But Wentz versus Prescott, we'll get into that throughout this week. Barrett Brooks played in many of those Dallas Eagles games. Eagles pre- and post-game live this Sunday night on Comcast Sportsnet. And then, of course, the game right here on 97.3, and then Barrett Monday morning on Breakfast on Broad, and then right back here with Barrett's breakdown for the game. All right, pal, we'll catch up.
All right, take it easy. Go Eagles. Eagles win in Dallas.